Hi, welcome back to Bookishly Lit. Today we're going to go over my wrap-up for October. I read 7 books this month, and one of them is the equivalent of like 4 books. So that one kind of brought my number down, but I did finish an entire series, and if you keep watching, you'll see what books I read and what I rated them. So, welcome back, and let's jump into it. First of the month, I read The Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson #1 by Rick Riordan. If you hear movement, my cats are walking around right now. I gave it 3 stars out of 5, which I've determined I'm going to start being more picky with my 4 and 5 stars because I want to make it more of a, oh my god, this book got 5 stars. It's not a bad book. It's a great intro to the series. I listened to these. They are narrated by Jesse Bernstein, who I think does a great job. They're obviously middle grade, so they were pretty quick reads. Second, I read the second book in this series, Sea of Monsters, and I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars as well. I did not like it as much as I liked the first one. I think the first book was better. It gives you a lot of insight. It introduces a ton of new characters like Thalia, gives you more backstory on Luke, you meet Tyson. This book just really kicks off the series and introduces you more to the plotline of the book series as a whole. So moving on from there, The Behemoth that I took on this month. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I read It by Stephen King. I was determined to finish this during spooky season. I really wanted to read this book before I watched the second movie because I knew once I watched the second movie, I would never read the book, and I wanted to not be a fake Stephen King fan, and I felt like I was until I read this. I would have died without the audiobook, honestly, just being able to turn it on and listen to it while I drove, anything like that, turning it up to 1.5, 1.75 speed. There were times where it was slow and I wanted to quit, but once it really got going, the character development's great throughout the book. There are a couple of moments that were not my favorite to read. I didn't feel super scared. I didn't have nightmares or anything like that. It is full of characters, way too much description. It's Stephen King, it's him at his greatest. So it was definitely different from the first movie. The manifestations of it in the movie versus in the book were super different. I just started the second movie, and it seems that they've gone a little bit more on the book when they're showing flashbacks. I haven't finished the movie yet. I'm about halfway through, and I just really wanted to take a nap. I am interested to see how they do the movie and the ending of it, because the ending was way more sci-fi than I thought it was gonna be. I did think once I finished it that it was worth the 5. Maybe would rank it down to a 4 now. I do recommend it if you like Stephen King. It is a lot, and if you're gonna read it, you need to have the audiobook to help you through. That way it can read and you can even just follow along. I would not have read this book without the audiobook. If you go over to my Instagram stories, I have a ton of updates, and I have my own little like highlights on Instagram all about it. They're It vlogs. That is Stephen King's It. I did it. I can say that I did it. That's it. Literally, that is it. The third book I read was Titan's Curse. This is the 3rd book in the series, and I rated this 5 out of 5. I think this is an absolutely great book. I loved the story. I loved all the new characters that you meet in this book. I would say this is my 2nd favorite in the whole series, and I just devoured this. I may have read it in like a day. I just listened to the book once again. So far, it's like this one, Lightning Thief, and then Sea of Monsters. Next, I started and finished The Secret History while listening to the other Percy Jackson books because I needed a break from this book. This is the book club read for the Late Night Book Club, hosted by Noelle, Joel from Fictional Fates, and Elias from Elias Reads, and I hated it. I gave it a 1 star. I really debated giving it a 2. That felt really generous, and like I just felt guilty to give it a 1, but I had to push myself through this book. I did not like the audiobook. It is narrated by the author, and I could not place her accent, and I couldn't listen to it on like a faster speed because I couldn't understand her. I think this book is super lofty. I've seen The Goldfish. I have not read it, and I think it gets the same like 29% Rotten Tomatoes. This book also would get the same thing. It feels like she wrote it to make you feel dumb, just like classics make you feel dumb. It was like I would start to enjoy it and then I'd be like, ugh. If you want to talk about over descriptive, it brings the descriptions back. It matters, sort of. Secret History, so much description for literally like no reason. I am not a scholar, like a classic scholar, and I feel like a lot of the references went right over my head. I liked the characters. Well, I hated most of them, but there was character development. But it felt like the pacing was just all wrong. It was like, where are the acts in this book? Like act 1, 2, and 3? I mean, it's not like a whodunit or anything like that, because they tell you in the first chapter, in the prologue, who did it, who's dead, and kind of how it happened. It just is leading you up to that, in my opinion, for my reading tastes. And I felt like it was very similar to the Goldfinch movie, so maybe that's just how Donna Tartt writes, but I gave it a 1. It is the only book I've read so far that I think I truly did not like, and I truly would have DNF'd if it was not for it being the book club read and me wanting to finish it for the book club. This for me was a big flop. It's going to be probably my flop of 2020, honestly, my least favorite book all year. The next book that I read was The Battle of the Labyrinth. This is the 4th out of the 5th book by Rick Riordan. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. I liked this book. I binged the heck out of this book because I did not want to be reading a secret history. It is really good, so I would actually just place it right under Titan's Curse because I thought it was great. I love the characters. It is the perfect cue up for the final battle, or for the final book of this series. It's a 4-star, which, I mean, honestly, that means it's a good book. I enjoyed the book. I thought about the book. I wanted to read the book, but I'm trying to reserve the 5 stars for like, this is a 5-star book. And the final book that I read this month is The Last Olympian. It is the final book in this series. It is the last installment, and I think it is magnificent. I love this book. It is action from start to finish. It ties up this series so well, and I forgot how it kind of starts to lead you into the next series. I remember a lot of what happened from this series overall, but I felt like it was bigger plots from each of the books, and this one I just was like, oh, that's how the final battle ends. Like, I knew about Rachel, I knew kind of where she landed, but I could not remember how they defeated Kronos. So that was, spoiler, they defeat Kronos. That was great for me. I loved how all the characters came together that we've been meeting over this 4-book series, and it tied back. I mean, it brought back Calypso, it brought back Auntie M in it too. I mean, it just is magnificent. This is a great book. I recommend this series so much. It was so fun to reread it. So many memories. Jesse Bernstein does a great job as the reader. I'm so excited to read the next series. I was like, I'm gonna take a break and try to read these other books, but as soon as I finished this, I started the Heroes of Olympus series. That's how excited I was to keep going with these characters. That is the last book I finished this month. Although I have not finished this book yet, I did receive it on the 29th, and I am going to try to finish it tonight or early tomorrow. So I am just gonna throw it in here. I'm listening to / reading One by One by Ruth Ware. This is the book club pick for the Literally Dead book club, which is featuring the Late Night Book Club hosts. So I really wanted to read this in time. I'm not super picky with my thrillers and mysteries right now because I just don't have the expertise there to compare. I don't read a ton of them. But I felt like this would be really fun to read. I would say I'm probably 30% done with this book, and I'm hoping to finish it tonight. So that right there is my wrap up for the month of October. I read 7 books. I read the whole Percy Jackson series. I took on the behemoth that is the book It, and I found my least favorite book of the year. My next video, I'm hoping, is a possible TBR for the rest of 2020. Let me know what you read this month. What were your favorites? Did you find any flops? Have you read any of these? Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. I'm Bookishly Lit. You can follow me on Instagram at bookishlylit. Be kind, choose happy, and read whatever the hell you want. Thanks. Bye. And still haven't told anyone in my life about this other than my boyfriend. Hello, sir. I'm trying to film a video. Would you like to be featured in it? Please do not knock over my camera. And it just starts to really... You meet Pains and the long-term game. Nudge, I'm trying to film. Hey, sir, go, scat. Is that what you say to cats? I bet you probably know, especially since I just flashed. You want to read a true Stephen King at his Stephen Kingest? So I can't really even say it was too, I mean, it was definitely too descriptive. So you never play with that toy and right now you want to play with it? Fat boy. This is the book club Bic because I am babysitting from like 9 to 1. Hopefully the kids are out by 10. It is Halloween. I am having such a fun Halloween night. We love a pandemic queen. OMG, why won't you stop?